So what does 60 degrees on a early February day mean? It's time to put down lime. And it's also time for me to clear my plots out. You can see this plot here kind of burned up on me last year. Didn't really do anything. I had beans right here and they burn up in the middle of the drought. If I'd planted them earlier, it'd probably been all right. I was a little bit late getting them in. So in the fall, I planted clover through here as a kill plot. And you can see there's a lot of it coming up now that's still here. So if you look down here, you can see a lot of it's still there from last year. It grew about like you would expect. It grew about 2 or 3 inches for deer season. The deer weren't overly worried about it. A lot of you guys are in the Ozarks and you don't have what I have, which is, if you look back here, everything you see on the other side of this little hayfield is a cornfield. So that cornfield you see right there, the deer travel right down these woods right here and end up in here. This is basically, I was building a staging area is what I'm doing. So with most part what they were feeding on last year in the fall was the corn, and they would come over here in bed and they didn't really hit this clover all that hard. This property doesn't really have a whole lot of turkeys either, so a lot of it, as you can see, is still here in a green hue. I also got some moss on the ground here, and I'll get to that here in a second, why that's there. But walking this way, I just cleared this out last weekend. You see the brush stacked right there. My problem, I was talking about the moss, is even if you look at it right now, you can see the shadows. Even with no leaves on the trees, this was typically always shady. What you would say, okay, it'd be good for a clover plot, but it was shady to the point that even clover was having issues. So what we did, and I would highly recommend this for anybody building a new plot, is make it north and south. That was my biggest mistake with this. As you can see, this was east and west to start. This was east and west to start. So getting light in here was a major pain. So I've opened this up such that now you can see the sun, a little of it we have on a cloudy day, is now shining down into this plot. So every day I'll at least get an hour or two of good sunlight down in here, even with leaves on the trees. I'm going to go ahead and seed all of this, but for this year I'm not overly worried about this growing that great. Now the next problem, you saw the lime at the beginning of the video. The next problem is I'm in a very acidic area. There's good nutrients in the soil. I mean, it's a good duff clay. As you can see there, it's clay. I'm in north central Missouri, so we got mainly clay. So there's nutrients in the soil. It's getting those nutrients out of the soil. That's the problem. Because this is in a fairly wooded area, it's a very acidic area. So I'm gonna have to pelt this with lime to even the pH of the food plot out. As you can see, what I've been doing this morning, my leaf blower right there, I cleared all these leaves you see here out of this plot. So this whole thing was covered in leaves, and you can see that's had years and years and years of that, of oak, hickory, elm leaves on it. So it's a very acidic area that I've got to get the acidity knocked down. And once I do that, it should be a very good kill plot for clover staging area. The bedding area sits back in there. There's a large hill right here. Well, large for northern Missouri. You guys in the Ozarks are probably laughing at me for saying that's a large hill. Steer stands right there. Now, when you've probably seen this ladder stand, and wondering why I don't put up a regular hang-on. When you're 6'6", weigh 300 pounds, and have had 2 back surgeries, getting in a hang-on stand doesn't work. But the next part of this is moving that stand from there to that large tree right there, the one right on the edge. Because the idea is on a south wind or a north wind, this just doesn't set up well for a west wind at all, because everything's going down the hill. But if I set it up for a south wind or a north wind, I can set right here on this tree, and the deer actually travel right down this. There's a creek right back in here. The deer travel right down this and then up this hill right here and come into this kill plot. So if I've got, you see a buck rub right there. If I've got a north wind, then I can sit here and kill anything coming up this hill. If I have a south wind, sorry. If I have a south wind, I can kill anything coming up this hill. If I've got a north wind, I can catch anything coming up. They also come back up to here. They bed all in here. So I do not want to be in here when the wind's blowing into that bedding area. So that's what I'm working on today. Hopefully it pays dividends for me in the fall. Also, with this clover in here, for those few turkeys I do have it roam in here, I can pull them up in here this spring and maybe get a shot at them in this plot.